economy.
Resuming debate, reprise de débat, the honourable member for Brampton East.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you to my honourable members. As you know, a stronger Canada pension plan was a key part of the promise we made to Canadians when we pledged to help the middle class and those working hard to join it. And then in June, the Minister of Finance reached an historic agreement in principle with the provinces to enhance Canada pension plan. An example of the results that can be achieved when the federal government has a partner in the provinces. The legislation before this House is the next step towards implementing the CPP enhancement commitment. Madam Speaker, so why enhance the CPP? Because achieving a safe and secure and dignified retirement is without a doubt among the most significant goals for hardworking Canadians. We know that middle-class Canadians are working harder than ever, and many are worried that they won't have enough to set aside for retirement. That feeling is palpable, and when we knock on doors, when we hold town halls, and we talk to people, and we put in the work of government, and their concerns are very well founded. Extensive analysis conducted by the Finance Department and provincial governments found that around 1/4 of families nearing retirement, that's 1.1 million families, are currently facing a drop in their standard of living when they retire. Madam Speaker, our middle class deserves better. This conclusion led us to work towards our agreed-upon enhancement to the CPP with the provinces. But what are the benefits? Well, firstly, there will be more money from the CPP waiting for Canadians when they retire. Once fully in place, the CPP enhancement will increase the maximum CPP retirement benefit by about 50%. The current maximum benefit is $13,110. In today's dollar terms, the enhanced CPP represents an increase of nearly $7,000 to a maximum benefit of nearly $20,000. The Department of Finance has estimated that by strengthening the CPP, we will reduce the share of families at risk of not having adequate retirement savings by about 1/4. Madam Speaker, we on this side of the House are proud to say that we are able to take this bold action and support middle-class Canadians by strengthening their retirement incomes. Without a doubt, Madam Speaker, a stronger CPP will be good for the middle class and those working hard to join it, which will be good for Canadian and the Canadian economy overall. For most Canadians, these increased benefits will come from just a 1% increase in their contribution rates. We're also making sure to give individuals and their employers plenty of time to adjust to the modest increases, making sure it's small and gradual, starting in 2019. And today's legislation, as agreed upon with the provinces, will ensure that low-income Canadians are not financially burdened as a result of their extra contributions. It will do this by enhancing the working income tax benefit to roughly offset the incremental CPP contributions, leaving eligible low-income Canadians with little to no change in disposable income, while still securing a higher retirement income for them. So the enhanced CPP simply builds on the core existing CPP benefits, and it does so in a smart, carefully targeted and effective way that reflects the extensive research that governments brought to the table in crafting this enhancement to the benefit for all working Canadians. Taken together, it is a comprehensive package that will increase CPP benefits while striking an appropriate balance between short-term economic considerations and long-term gains. It is for these reasons I call on all members of this House to support this legislation, support Canadians, and ensure that all Canadians have a safe, secure retirement. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Questions and comments, questions et commentaires. L'honorable.
The honourable member for Louis Saint Laurent. Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'd like to thank my colleague for his speech, and I would like to know why his party is against creating new savings tools instead of imposing new costs on workers.
Member for Brampton East.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I'd like to thank the honourable member for his question. I will formally welcome to the Finance Committee. He just joined our committee, and he brings a wealth of knowledge. Although we do disagree on almost everything that comes up at committee, from time to time we find an area of agreement. CPP enhancement isn't one of those areas. He mentioned the same thing that the Conservative Party mentioned in the campaign, which was to increase the TFSA. The fact of the matter is a lot of Canadians can't afford to meet the current threshold of the TFSA.
That's right.
And the number one reason why CPP enhancement is needed is because in 1971, 48% of Canadians had defined benefit contribution plans provided by their employers.
That's right.
Fast forward to 2011, that number is 25% and declining. CPP enhancement is critical to ensure that Canadians have a safe and secure retirement, and I encourage the member opposite to not just delete every clause in this bill, but to bring forward ideas that will help Canadians have a safe and secure retirement. I encourage his party to support this bill. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Comments, questions et commentaires. The honourable member for Hamilton Mountain.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I appreciate my colleague's speech. And we certainly welcome the improvements in some of the CPP to date, but there's many that was omitted. So he had mentioned, Madam Speaker, the member mentioned that they talked to people door to door when they went along in the election about the Canada Pension Plan. But I also like to know if the member, did he tell those people that the drop-out clauses for child rearing and the people living with disabilities was not allowed in the new bill? And if so, they had, when they were chatting, if they did have those talks, what were the people's responses?
The honourable member for Brampton East.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you, my honourable colleague, for the question. First and foremost, the fact of the matter is this, is that if you retire in Canada after 2019 and you contribute to CPP, you will have more money when you retire, and that's something that all Canadians from coast to coast to coast can celebrate, and it's an important development. More importantly, Madam Speaker, the point that the member raised, just last week our government made a commitment that the finance minister will be talking about that very point on the dropout provisions with his provincial and territorial partners at the triennial review of CPP. So this government understands and recognizes that that's a concern, and they're moving forward by the minister bringing it up and reviewing those provisions. But the fact of the matter is this, is that if you're working in Canada and you need a safe and secure retirement, it is in your benefit to support CPP enhancement, and I encourage the party opposite to support this bill, and they know that at the end of the day, we're all here to fight for Canadians, and the CPP enhancement is fighting for Canadians and helping strengthen the middle class. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Questions and comments, questions et commentaires. L'honorable député de...
The honourable member for Rimouski, Nijet, Témiscouata, Libesque. Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I'd like to thank my colleague for an excellent speech, and I would like to thank him for being so open to the NDP on this file. I know he attended the many meetings of the Finance Committee. There are some questions that shouldn't be debated, but unfortunately, we are debating them. For example, in the definition of the CPP, there's something that one of my colleagues will soon be speaking about, and it's the impact of the changes to the program on women and persons with a disability. So I would like to ask my colleague to continue speaking on that.
For Brampton East, just a very brief question, answer, please.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I'd like to thank my honourable colleague for the question. I mean, he's a man of towering intellect and a fierce passion an advocate for his constituents. Unfortunately, we fundamentally disagree on a lot of items, and so although I appreciate the fact that he thinks I'm open to the NDP suggestion, the fact of the matter is that I very much support CPP enhancement, and like I've mentioned numerous times throughout this debate, is that the most important thing is that we're strengthening Canadians' retirement, we're increasing CPP enhancement, and all Canadians across the country will benefit from our plan. And I encourage all members, irrespective of your party ideology, to support this bill. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Resuming debate, reprise de débat. The honourable member for Hamilton Mountain.